Your knives are essential in the kitchen for breaking down any fresh products. Also, if you're making a wrap or a sub sandwich, you might need to cut it in half. Any prep that you're doing, you're going to need to use knives. These are always a chef's tool. Anyone working in a school nutrition kitchen is a culinary expert or training to be a culinary expert. You are serving a tremendous amount of meals. So learning the knives and practicing them is going to be essential as you grow in your position and hone those skills. Now, a lot of times with knives, we can get some bad habits. We have a go-to knife, we use it for everything. We don't store our knives properly. We don't walk around the kitchen with our knives properly. Also, knives can be intimidating. They're really sharp. So knowing how to safely use a knife and what knife is used for what is really important. Here we have a few different types of knives. You have your chef knife. Your chef knife is used for 90% of everything you will do in your kitchen. Ensuring that it's nice and sharp is going to be important. So if it's not cutting well, or if it's not cutting all the way through, that's an indication that you need to sharpen your knife. In order to sharpen your knife, you can either use a stone, and that's going to get that blade back, or in order to keep a sharp blade for use every day, you're going to use a steel. And with the steel, what that's going to do, it's not going to bring back a dull blade, but it's going to keep my sharp blade nice and refined, which means I don't need to sharpen it that frequently. Now, if you're out of the habit of sharpening your knives, and I get that you're really busy, a great thing to do is 1 month's professional development. You guys, let's get all the knives together. We're gonna make sure they're really clean. We're gonna get a sharpening stone or an electric sharpener, and we're gonna make sure we have really sharp knives. Then, on a daily basis, just like how you calibrate your thermometer, we're going to hone that blade to keep it nice and sharp. Now, the safest way to use a steel is to put it point side down, not on your prep table it wants to slide. You could have a towel here, or your cutting board's gonna keep it secure. And you're gonna start at the base and go all the way down to the tip. And however many times you do one side, you're going to do the other side. Now, the core of this steel is a magnet. So inside all of these little grooves, it's gonna collect any little shavings of your metal. So after you use your steel, dry towel, disposable towel, just go ahead and wipe it, and carefully you will wipe the blade to get any fragments of metal off. That's going to keep your blade really sharp. Never forget that this is a sharp tool with the intent to cut. That could be you if not used carefully. Habits like wiping it here, for one, this is not sanitized. The bottom of my apron can brush against a variety of things in the kitchen. So I've contaminated my knife, and I could be very likely to cut myself. If someone's walking by, I could cut them. When you clean a knife, everybody washes their own knives. Or you have a dedicated rack where you collect all the knives and they are ran through together or hand washed together. Never drop a knife in a sink with soapy water. I don't know it's there. I'm gonna dive in to grab a hotel pan or whatever needs to be washed next. I could severely cut myself. When I take this to the dish area, it can be very common to, I'm gonna pick up my board. I mean, I've got my thumbs on it, you know, they're somewhat secure and I'm ready to walk. If I trip, I am now projecting a knife. It can be problematic. Walk with your knife down by your side. Instinct makes me want to, if I was to drop this, try to grab it. Don't grab it, let it fall. That's also why we wear appropriate shoes in the kitchen. It's gonna protect us from a fall like that of a knife. So it takes practice. It might feel a little awkward at first. Keep doing it, keep practicing it. That ensures safety. Now, use the chef knife to break down fruit, break down vegetables. It cuts really evenly. It can cut high volume quickly. This is my go-to. The serrated knife I'm gonna use for primarily two things in a school nutrition kitchen. One, fruit that has a tough exterior, vegetables that have a tough exterior. If you are breaking down wonderful Georgia grown watermelon when it's in season, that exterior is tough. This little edge that looks just like a saw is ideal for capturing that rind that's really hard and allowing you to remove it with ease. The other thing that this knife is really great for is anything that wants to deflate when you're cutting it. So if you were making a sub sandwich, if I hit it with this repeatedly, I'm just squishing the bread. If I use my serrated knife, again, it's gonna gently saw into it, protecting that nice volume. This is known as a utility knife. And it might be your kitchen's go-to. A lot of times this is a kitchen's go-to because they're not exactly sure when and how to use these knives. The function of this knife is not a lot of things that you're gonna use in your kitchen. This can be used to remove the rubber bands on your vegetables. If you were using fresh garlic, to remove the little base core of that garlic, you're not going to use this very often. So if you have a habit of using it a lot, start to wean away from that and go to these. This is not meant for high volume. Also, if you notice, this little edge right here makes it difficult for you to completely cut through something. It's gonna slow down production. So we're gonna kind of phase away from this knife. Don't use this knife to open boxes. Don't use this knife to open boxes. This knife. I'm not gonna use this knife to open bags. I get it, it's a habit. However, all I'm doing is, for one, dulling my knife. I mean, every time you cut directly onto a prep table or you are hitting tape or plastic, I'm dulling it. And that's dangerous. You know, if I'm opening a box and I'm cutting it and I'm cutting down into the box, I'm probably puncturing whatever's in there, and it's dangerous. So we use scissors for it. Keep the scissors where you're normally opening boxes. That way, you've got the right tool where you need it. Store your knives in a dedicated location. Again, I don't want to open a drawer and think I'm reaching for a whisk and I'm hit with a knife. Secure your knives. Properly train on knives and understand that knives are intimidating. They should be. You know, they need to be handled with a level of care. With anything that can be a little intimidating, like cooking meals for hundreds of kids, the more you practice, the more comfortable you're going to be. Your level of expertise will increase, and it leads to perfection. So take your time at the beginning and then use proper techniques, the proper safety protocols, and your speed will increase.